Hello, class. My name is Mary Davis, and this is my lesson. It's for second grade, and my TEKS are history. The student understands how historical figures helped shape the community, state, and nation. The student is expected to identify contributions of historical figures, and I have chosen to do Irma Rangel. I apologize, I am coughing. My objective is students will design a poster of Irma Rangel celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month that will identify at least two contributions she has made. Here's a list of my materials per student, and then also per table. I would have the students either grouped in 3 or 4, just depending on how the classroom is set up. Here are my guided questions, one for each level of Bloom's. Remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and then finally creating for the last one. Connection would be students will need to have the basic understanding of the concepts and definitions of the terms contribution and equality. And they can have vague or no understanding of Hispanic Heritage Month. It's just kind of being connected to the lesson. So Irma Rangel is the first Mexican-American woman elected to serve on the Texas House of Representatives. Hello, class. Hola, clase. Did you know it was Hispanic Heritage Month? Did you know that Miss Mary is Hispanic? We are going to learn about another Hispanic woman that did really big things, and she was also from Texas, just like you. Her name was Irma Rangel. And we're going to start off first by listening to a story about her life.
Irma Rangel by Katie Marsico. I was born in Texas. My family was Mexican American. People from Spanish speaking countries are called Hispanic. I learned about racism early. Some white people didn't like us. They didn't want Hispanic neighbors. But I wouldn't let racism get in my way. How do you treat your neighbors? I studied hard. I worked as a teacher. Later, I became a lawyer. There weren't many lawyers like me. I was a woman. I was Hispanic. What makes you special? I didn't stop there. Next, I became a lawmaker. What are some laws you would make? I served in the state legislature. I was the first Hispanic woman to do so. I wanted everyone to be treated fairly. I worked hard for the poor. I fought racism. All people should have the right to do the same things.
So, clase, can you think of another person who tried to make things fair for people, for all people? And I would be looking for responses like Martin Luther King Jr. on a grander scale, but I would also be looking for even personal connections, like students standing up for a friend when they saw that they weren't being treated fair, like maybe they were being left out of a game, or they were not being given the same amount. Maybe they've had a family member that has stood on some committee, some local committee, to kind of fight for equality in our own like community. So any of these would be appropriate responses for this age range.
I believed there should be equality in school. I said state colleges should always accept certain students. These students didn't have to be white, they just had to be the best in their class.
So, Klasse, how would you feel if you weren't allowed to go to college based on your race, on the color of your skin? And I would wait for responses that included sad. It would make me feel unfair, make me feel not equal, um, maybe not good enough. That would be an appropriate response.
I died in 2003, but my efforts broke records. My work changed lives. What would you like to ask me?
So, Klasse, who was Irma Rangel? And I would wait for responses like someone who fought for education, someone who fought for equality. She was the first Mexican American legislator. So any of these responses would be good and would be demonstrating comprehension or understanding of what they were just showed or read to. If I had the physical book, I would have read the book out loud, but in this circumstance, I showed the video. Um, I then would ask the guided question, why do you think she worked so hard for education? Why do we think, class, that Irma Rangel worked so hard um, to speak up for education? And again, I would pause and wait for responses that demonstrated understanding that she just wanted equality and she wanted fairness for everyone. She wanted to be able to allow everyone that opportunity to have a college education. Moving on to our graphic organizer, we would, as a class, read this article, and I would begin first modeling how to fill out the graphic organizer. So Irma Rangel was a U.S. attorney and politician. She was the first Hispanic woman elected to the Texas legislature. Clase, that sounds like a big thing that Miss Irma Rangel did in her lifetime. So Miss Mary is going to fill in her first circle with the first Hispanic woman elected to Texas legislature. I would continue reading the article. My next fill in would be that she was known for working to make education available to everyone. So I would write that in my next one. And then we would move into our guided practice where we as a class would finish filling out our 3 other spaces left on our graphic organizer and going through the article, reading it out loud, pausing so that we could have a discussion as a class. Like, does that sound like a good, like, big thing that we can put on our graphic organizer? And I would be looking for responses Like, she fought for the poor. She believed in equality. Um, First Mexican American female attorney. She supported and passed laws for women and children of domestic abuse. She fought for fairness in college education. So we would just go down and fill in as a class our graphic organizer. Now, clase, how would you summarize what you've learned about her? So moving on to our independent practice, it's time for you to do this, class. Use your graphic organizer that we filled out together, and in your own words, I want you to choose at least 2 things that you've learned about Irma Rangel. And you will use your 2 index cards that Miss Mary has provided for you, and I want you to write down, summarize the 2 things about her that you want to include on your poster that we will be making. So, there's a picture, and then here is the handout that I will give you, class. We are going to cut out our 2 things that we have on our index cards. We will cut out our poster after we color and decorate it. And then we are going to put it all together, gluing it. Here's an example of the finished product, guys. As we are working on our guided practice, our independent practice class, I would ask, what would happen if she never fought so hard for fair education? So, while kids were working independently, while you students are working independently in the classroom coloring, I would walk around and ask, how do you think things would look, or how do you think things would be now? How would things be different? Or what would have happened if she never fought so hard for fair education? And I would be looking for responses like, maybe I wouldn't get to go to college, coming from a student that was Mexican or of a different nationality or ethnicity. And I would respond with, Miss Mary maybe wouldn't be able to go to college because Miss Mary is Hispanic. Miss Mary is not white. So just to get that understanding that those were the contributions that she made, was to make it equal for all students to be able to get into college and not have to worry about what race they were. Another example of the finished product would be this one, colored. You're going to glue it onto your construction paper and make sure your 2 are visible, because that is how you will be assessed with the completion of your poster, along with clear understanding of the 2 contributions displayed. So use your graphic organizer that we've done together as a class and summarize, clase, your 2 things that you will be doing. After that, you also have an Irma acrostic that is just an extension. It's not a requirement. It will not be graded. It is just an added activity to do. You will be coming up with words to describe Miss Irma Rangel, to hang up next to your poster. Ideas would be Mexican American. You can do racism for R. You can put lawmaker or legislature for L. So this is just something added that you can do, that the class can do, just to confirm some more understanding of who Irma Rangel was and what she has done for our state and nation. If you have any questions, feedback, or remarks about this lesson, please let me know what I can do to make this better in the classroom. Again, here is just an example, just so you can see the final product. My citations. Thank you very much, and I do hope that you enjoyed doing this project, this lesson.